Well, I said at the start of the season, I felt the midfield needed refreshing. He had, I think, an over-reliance on the young midfield players that were coming into the team. I go back to my days as a player. Since I finished playing, Jim, I bet I've had 6 to 10 people say to me, you know, when we used to play against those Liverpool teams, we always felt we're playing against a team of men. And when I look back on the teams, the nucleus of the team, the age was sort of late 20s. And that carries you through the difficult moments in a long, hard nine months of the season. And I just think if you know, it's not rocket science. You know, you look at Jordan Henderson's 31, Thiago 31, James Milner must be 36 now. Fabinho, I think, is 29, 30. I think that was an obvious area that needed an injection of quality, and enthusiasm. The midfield for them has been the mainstay of their success, I feel. Not the most gifted in terms of cute and clever passing, but boy, did they work hard against opposition, which meant the vast majority of the time they're on the front foot, the vast majority of the time they were getting the ball to the strikers quick and early, and it meant that the back four weren't as vulnerable because they were constantly putting the ball under pressure. I feel that's not happened this year, and it makes the front less potent, and it makes the defence a wee bit more vulnerable.
I mean, they haven't won away from home all season. We're a third in.
Yeah, they Liverpool have been incredibly. They've been incredible for 5 years. The consistency levels that have been off the charts, and that's dropped. This year it's dropped no matter what you say. It's dropped. The intensity of their pressing is not there.
They had a lot of injuries, and that's to be granted. But they dropped significantly in the season when they defended their title as well. They were poor for about a third of the season. But when we talk about your midfield, Graeme, and they've refreshed the midfield. Now, are we talking about quality? They played kids in the midfield.
That's my
young
point.
Boys.
That's my point.
So they should have the legs, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
We're not talking about the Gale in Nottingham Forest isn't going to be overcoming the Gale of Liverpool, whether it's Carvalho, Carson Jones, or Harvey Elliott, is it?
I think there's an over-reliance. I think believing that young guys can come into the team when the team is misfiring and make the difference, I think is a big ask. I think historically that is the case. I think Liverpool, are in that glorious situation when, certainly in the last few years, they've been at the top. And that's what Liverpool is, what Man United did, and what Man City are doing now. When you're at the top, you just go out and add to the squad. Those players that you're buying don't have to have an immediate impact. They can be bedded in. You can have a good look at them. Best example I can give of that is Andy Robertson at Liverpool, where he must have spent a good year and a half out of the team. And I just feel for Liverpool, a team that anyone would want to join now from anywhere in Europe, chance to play Champions League, playing at Anfield every other week. Being part of that history, it's not a problem to attract the best players to Liverpool now. And I think they've missed the trick at the start.
Do you think Mane? People won't make this narrative, but do you think Mane leaving has made a difference? It's difficult to replace. I think he's an outstanding player, but do you think he's made a difference, or do you think that's just by the by?
I think it's by the by. I think the guy that bought in is a really good player.
Yes, he is. Do you think they've got to be careful how they go now, though, Graeme? Did you say earlier in the show that Newcastle as a disruptor could come in, and Liverpool could be one of the ones that drops out the top ones?
So could Tottenham, so could Chelsea. A stronger Man United going forward. I think we have to accept that they're going to be stronger going forward, with Ronaldo or without Ronaldo. But I think Liverpool. Listen, the manager's been super successful. He's working with those. This is the point I want to make. You're a manager and you're working with your players every day of the week, and you're looking at, you're watching them closely. You're listening to what the medical people are telling you. You're looking at the numbers, and I think I just look at the simple fact the age of the midfield would tell you they're not going to have the same energy levels over a hard 9 months.
There's an argument to be said, and I'll just make it sort of devil's advocate. Ferguson constantly refreshed Man United and kept them evolving, and to some extent, so has Pep Guardiola. Has Jurgen done the same thing? Because when they defended the title, they needed to refresh and they didn't. They lost a lot of centre-backs. They refreshed last year and they looked like they were going to dominate everything. Mm-hmm. And again, they're in a cycle again where they might need to refresh. Is he not reading the room in terms of refreshing when he needs to?
Well, I think, as I've said already, I think that the young players coming through, the young midfield, Curtis Jones and
Carvalho.
Harvey Elliott, that was one I was thinking of. Yeah, they might be the real deal in 2 or 3 years' time. But I think, given the age, and it's not rocket science, given the age of the midfield mainstays, that would be an area where you're thinking, I should be keeping a close eye on them, because not only there's a loss of intensity, there's the risk of muscle injuries when you get the wrong side of 30. So that would be in my head if I was managing a group of players at the midfield that age. And I'm looking at the young players, and my experience of the English, the English top division, it's a hard grind, both mentally and physically. It's a tough old grind. You got to factor in if you're not going well, how does that impact on your lesser lights? The ones who are not mentally strong. How would that impact on young players coming in who it's all new to them? And I just think, given the age, forget anything else, forget everything else I've talked about, but just look at the age of the midfield. And I think that was an area that I would have wanted to have strengthened.
Do they make top 4?
I think, listen, you don't go from being a team that everyone feared, that no one wanted to play against, to being a team that everyone wants to play against. Yes, they can definitely make the top 4. But they're showing a vulnerability.
Just as easily they might not.
But they're showing a vulnerability right now that no one expected.
Okay. Liverpool have it all to do. And they'll no doubt do it. Coming up to 12:20.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.